So why do you think that high school boys and single guys are just absolutely guzzling porn? Because they have a need for intimacy, but they don't like their reality. They don't want to let God work with that. Hey, I'm single, I'm growing up, I got to learn discipline, I got to learn responsibility, I have to learn commitment, okay? And given, that they have high levels of testosterone, I get that, but they want to be here. They don't want their reality. So what they do is they create relationships with women, and then guess what happens? Satan wins. Here's how he wins. I just read all these articles on this. So they go and they engage in fantasy online, and they create all these relationships with women before they actually have a real relationship with a woman. And then they habituate fantasy and masturbation and all these deviant sexual things. And they, one, start practicing sex in a way that they're not intended. And then two, create imaginary expectations of what a woman is and what a woman should do. So they've already laid the quicksand for their destruction in marriage. And so now I get emails from young men who are diving into fantasy because they don't like the reality of their singleness. And they're saying, you know what, disaster on the wedding night. Why? Because they habituated a way of thinking and acting out sexually that was inconsistent with a 98.6-degree woman who needs conversation and dinner and engagement, not just self-gratification. You follow me? She's real. And guess what happens? And I kid you not. Why? Because they habituated a way of approaching their lives that wasn't comfortable with reality. They wanted the fantasy. They wanted to grow up too quick. Instead of letting God mature them and use their circumstances to grow them up and teach them discipline and teach them patience and teach them how to engage women in the right way versus just physically, which is the easiest one. And then they jumped ahead and they jumped into fantasy, and then they started living and thinking about women and sex and life and relationships in a deceitful, evil way. And then they meet the girl of their dreams. She comes into their life, and oh, she's awesome. And then they go to the wedding night and the wedding bed, but they have habituated a way of being and thinking that does not jive with reality. Disaster. These kids, these boys that are diving into porn and creating that life, they are devastated. They are depressed. Their wives are devastated. Their wives are depressed. All because they didn't want to have a good relationship with their reality. Let's just say something together. Say, it is never God's will for God's man to run or escape from his reality. To see more or get answers to other questions you have, check out our Media Vault at everymanministries.com.